Thanks, Larry. Just bringing my screen up here. You should be able to see it now. I want to first off say good morning and thank you for inviting me to participate today and talk to you a little bit about ITS America's efforts on digital infrastructure. I am Tim Drake. I'm the Senior Vice President for Public Policy and Government Affairs at ITS America. And in that role, I manage our policy development, advocacy, and all of our committee activity, including our efforts related to DI. And I'm delighted to be here today to share a little bit about our recently published Digital Infrastructure Strategy Report as we look towards TRB and continuing the conversation there. This is not news to any of you, but our transportation system is evolving. It's no longer just concrete and asphalt and steel. Today, it includes sensors and software, data and algorithms, and numerous technologies that allow us to pursue automation, connected vehicles, mobility on demand, and a more sustainable and resilient transportation system. And in this new era of infrastructure, we will link that physical transportation system with a digital layer that allows us to gather, transmit, store, analyze, communicate, and share information in real time, and to use that information to increase safety, reduce congestion, reduce emissions, and enhance mobility for every transportation user. And I think that must really be our North Star. At ITS America, we don't advocate for deploying technology for technology's sake. We advocate for developing and deploying technology to provide real outcomes for real people. And in reality, technology and data already impacts much of the way we travel, but we've only begun to tap the potential of what digital infrastructure can provide. We at ITS America envision a future transportation system in which digital infrastructure incorporates all modes, bringing together highways and local roadways, transit, micromobility, curb space, freight, and yes, even aviation to provide seamless mobility opportunities. In our Digital Infrastructure Strategy Report, we included insights gleaned from numerous forums, workshops, and meetings of ITS America's Digital Infrastructure Working Group, and we appreciate the hundreds of industry stakeholders, public and private, that participated throughout that process. I believe the report can provide a foundation to push our collective conversation on digital infrastructure forward. I think it can help inform and contribute to FHWA's own efforts on roadway digital infrastructure, along with the efforts of other industry stakeholders, such as AASHTO's lighting up the interstate moonshot that Larry just discussed. Our Digital Infrastructure Strategy Report identifies 4 key areas that I think are crucial to advancing digital infrastructure. It begins a discussion on what a definition of digital infrastructure should include. It evaluates digital infrastructure through the lens of use cases. It discusses the need for broad stakeholder participation and collaboration, and it identifies next steps to begin to implement the strategy. I'm going to address each of these at a very high level. So first, what is digital infrastructure? We heard John speak to this a little bit, and I have a working definition on the right side of this slide that underpins some of the work that we've done. And while it identifies a plethora of the pieces that make up digital infrastructure, it's also likely incomplete. In reality, the definition of digital infrastructure is still under development. But I can tell you 4 key areas that we think the final definition should address. First, the technology and innovation, which includes the connectivity, dynamic transportation systems, and emerging technologies. Second, standards and a reference architecture, which will address data sharing and integration, cybersecurity, and interoperability and standardization. Third, stakeholders, and this includes the typical transportation stakeholders, but also public-private partnerships and a broader user base. And fourth, priorities and goals, including safety, sustainability, mobility, equity, and future-proofing. We also, we convened a workshop in April 2023 where we evaluated 10 critical digital infrastructure use cases that would be used to meet safety, equity, economic strength, and climate objectives. These use cases represent an initial blueprint for demonstrating digital infrastructure capabilities, but are not an exhaustive list of potential use cases. They can be used as a starting point to focus resource allocation, define and establish achievable milestones, and measure the potential and progress of digital infrastructure while achieving meaningful results for the traveling public, the outcomes piece. In the report, we provided an in-depth overview of 2 use cases, connected vehicle data and traffic signal integration, which we used in the report to identify obstacles to success and outline the necessary steps to mitigate them. Finally, we also addressed, this section in our report also addressed the need for a digital reference architecture and a shared data layer. I would note that there are a number of systems that will be included within digital infrastructure, and DI doesn't have to replace the many other standards that have been developed throughout the transportation system. Rather, it is a system of systems and will require incorporation of many of the architectures that have already been developed. I think the key is providing a functional architecture that allows for innovation, but also prioritizes interoperability. And the shared data layer must provide trustable data for stakeholders to use and build from. Next, we looked at stakeholder collaboration. I think this is one of the key areas towards alignment on digital infrastructure, is to correctly identify the complex stakeholder map and ensure we're bringing each of these communities into the conversation. We made an attempt to outline a stakeholder map here, which you can see involves numerous stakeholders with varying needs and responsibilities. It includes, at the bottom, US DOT and other federal agencies, state and local public entities, enabling organizations, digital infrastructure user interfaces, and the end users themselves. And as complex as this stakeholder map is, I'm sure it will need to be expanded and improved upon. The key point here is that these stakeholders all have a part to play in the development and implementation of digital infrastructure. Fourth and finally, we identified 11 key actions to implementing the strategy, including setting a common vision, establishing a roadmap with defined milestones, defining digital infrastructure, prioritizing relevant industry use cases, allocating funding for technology, developing a facilitative policy and regulatory framework, making a difference through real impacts, emphasizing citizen-centric changes, leveraging industry associations to foster collaboration, fostering partnerships and collaboration with industry stakeholders, and regularly reviewing and adapting digital infrastructure to meet technological innovation. It's a lot of steps, but I think each one will enhance our ability to deliver on digital infrastructure. And if you look through this list, you'll see that a number of these are already underway in the efforts of FHWA, AASHTO, and ITS America. So finally, what's next? ITS America made a call on US DOT to develop a DI vision and roadmap. We need a vision that defines digital infrastructure, identifies US DOT and industry goals and priorities around digital infrastructure, and provides a framework for development to a common end result while allowing room for innovation and improvement. ITS America this year, our digital infrastructure working group is becoming a full standing advisory committee. It will be tasked with a number of activities to advance digital infrastructure implementation. The first of which will include identifying what should be included in a common national vision for DI, including a framework under which we can all participate in its development. Second, we will look to advance a multimodal use case ecosystem that shows how DI can be implemented across a broad range of modalities and use cases, including a discussion of standardization and reference architecture to support a seamless transportation system. And third, we will begin to develop policy that will underpin the future of digital infrastructure in federal transportation programs, recognizing the need to put digital infrastructure on par with hard infrastructure in the next surface transportation reauthorization and address the unique nature of technology procurement. Finally, we look forward to participating in the digital infrastructure workshop at TRB, and we'll look to build on those efforts at another DI workshop at ITS America's annual conference and expo on April 22nd in Phoenix. I'd also like to mention in a related effort, later this afternoon, we will be releasing a white paper on artificial intelligence in transportation. And I'd encourage everyone to be on the lookout for that as well. Thanks, Deepak.